Today, Ms. Bell's class, I am for seniors final exam. I'm looking at number, I think I left off with 11 on that last one, so we're looking at number 12. And if you take a look at number 12, and once again, you're going to be at a different spot. It's not numbered, I don't think, the way you're going to be taking it. Just look for this problem, d squared minus 19d plus 90. And my clue for you in this one, a little clarification in this one, how you're supposed to think about it, is to think of two numbers you can multiply and get 90, but add and get negative 19. So what's nice about this is that you have multiple choice. So these two numbers that are in these binomials, when you multiply them together, so you only have these choices, you don't have to think about it too much. Which two, with the negatives and the positives and all that good stuff, which one shows you A, B, C, or D, two numbers that you multiply to get 90 and add and get negative 19. That's what that all means. For number 13, it's very similar, but notice that there isn't like a middle section to this, okay? That's because that's going to be 0. And what I mean by that is my guidance for you, number 13, is think of two numbers that you can multiply and get negative 49, but you add and get 0, okay? So that's why there's nothing in the middle here. So you have only these numbers to choose from. Which ones do you multiply and get negative 49? For number 14, taking a look at this, graph each function. How is the graph translation from, that's the parent function. And so my guidance for you in number 14, remember the parent function is this, which is just, right at the origin, a smile-like shape, a U-type shape, parabola. So if that's the parent function, the minus 5 that's added to it right here means that you move down 5 units. So it's just going to be this, moved down 5 units. For number 15, so, you pick A, B, C, or D, where it's the parent function moved down 5 units. For number 15, we have identified a vertex and the axis of symmetry of the graph of the function. So you have this in vertex form. Now remember, and you're going to choose A, B, C, or D, obviously, but remember in vertex form, the H is the x value of the vertex. The k is the y value of the vertex, okay? The axis of symmetry, that's AOS, is going to be whatever that h value was, okay? Remember, this is the formula, so it's minus h already. Just watch out for that, okay? Because in your problem, if you add a plus a number, that means that h value would be negative, because two negatives make a positive, okay? So just to clarify for number 15 a little bit. Number 16, which is the graph of y equals negative 3 and x, the quantity of x minus 3 squared plus 2. So you see here some changes to the parent function, which was y equals x squared, right? So you have an a value that's here, you have an h value, you have a k value. What do these mean? And how is it going to match up with A, B, C, or D in your graphs? So let me give you some clarification on this. That negative means it's flipped. We don't really need to, deal much with 3 right now. So just flipped, and it went right 3 and up 2 from the parent function. So this parent function's flipped, so now it's a frown, not a smile, it's a frown, and it went right 3, over 3, and up 2, if you look at the vertex, stemming from the vertex. Number 17, what are the vertex and the axis of symmetry of the equation? So this is in standard form now. So in standard form, what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what your A, B, and C values are. So A is 2, B is 16, C is negative 10. And so we have the axis of symmetry formula where x equals negative b over 2a. So negative b over 2a, that's negative 16b, over 2 times a, 2 times 2, 4. So you just have to figure out what negative 16 divided by 4 is. Okay, that's your axis of symmetry. Plug in that number back into this equation for the x values. Notice I put in parentheses just with the x values where they were. Work that out, and that's going to be the y value for the vertex. So this is your x value for the vertex, and it's the axis of symmetry. This answer is the y value, so the x and y value together is the vertex. Going on to number 18. We have y equals negative x squared plus 2x plus 3. Now you just have graphs, okay? So first of all, notice that's a negative. So negative, you know it's going to be a frown shape, okay? So it's the parent function flipped upside down. It's going to be a frown. Now, frown upside down. So now you have just a choice of 2. You have a 50-50 shot of getting it, but you can do even better by doing the axis of symmetry. Figuring out the axis of symmetry, all you really need to know is the a and the b. So the a is negative 1, the b is 2. Plug that in, so negative b, so it's negative 2, over 2 times a, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So negative 2 over negative 2, that gives you the axis of symmetry. Remember the axis of symmetry is, it just splits the parabola right in two. And so the axis of symmetry is whatever negative 2 divided by negative 2 is. It's the only one that's a frown shape and it has the axis of symmetry of that, that number. That's going to be your choice. Number 19. Number 19, we have x squared minus 19, or minus 9x, sorry, plus 18 equals 0. Now, for this one, what we have to do, the solutions. So we're figuring out what the where it crosses the x-axis for this solution. Okay. So instead of plugging it into Desmos or something like that and just looking at it, you could figure it out by thinking of two numbers that you can multiply and get 18, but add and get negative 9. And it's going to be something like this. It's going to be a couple negative numbers. Okay. The next thing you got to do, you got to remember to do this step. This is, highlight this, then solve it. So take this first one, set it to 0, solve for x. That's your number. That's going to be your solution. That's where it crosses the x-axis. This one, x minus whatever that other number is that you multiply and get 18, but add and get negative 9. Boom, put it in here, solve for x. Okay, by adding that number to both sides, and that will give you the x value. That's going to be either A, B, C, or D. Okay, that's what's tricky about that one. That's what's different about that one. This one is, you're basically doing the same thing, but they give you graphs. Okay, given graphs for 20, think of two numbers you can multiply and get negative 4, but add and get 3. So once again, it's going to be, you're going to be subtracting something and you're going to be adding something, okay? Take that one that you subtracted, set it equal to 0, and then solve for x. So you're going to add that number to both sides. Take this one number that you figured out that you multiply and get negative 4, but add and get 3. And you're going to subtract that from both sides, and that's what the other value is going to be. And so those are going to be where they cross the x-axis. That's where they cross the x-axis, okay? 2 points. So you have all these points to consider, okay? A lot of them are similar. The one thing that you have to pay attention to is that this is a positive, and I have this note here for you. It's a positive x squared value. That means it's going to be shaped like a smile, so it's going to open upward. On to 21. 21, what is the solution of each equation? 2x squared equals 30. Well, what you're going to do with this first is divide both sides by 2 and then take the square root of both sides. Okay? And remember, square root, you can square a negative and it becomes positive. So you're going to have one positive, one negative. 22. Use the quadratic formula to solve the equation. Round to 2 decimal places if necessary. So what you're going to do with this one is you're just going to take these values and put it into the quadratic equation. So your A value is -1, your B value is 1, your C value is 5. Plug your A, B's, and C's in. My suggestion is to work on the discriminant first, and then just take your -B plus that divided by 2 times A, and then take -B minus that divided by 2 times A. And I explained that in the last one, 26, a little bit better, if you want to go to that one. Once again, these numbers aren't going to be the same. You know, I don't think yours is numbered or it's just, you know, mixed up, so hopefully you can follow this as much as possible. Square root of -9. My clarification for you is things to remember. What does a negative square root become? So anything negative, how do you get rid of the negative? Bring that out of the square root. And then what is the square root of 9? 24. I have this one set up so that you can solve right here. Just get rid of the parentheses, and so all you need to do now is combine like terms. 25, you're multiplying, so you're going to use FOIL. And then, not only that, once you use FOIL, I did the first step for you. First times first gave you 24. Outsides gave you a positive 16i. Insides gave you a negative 6i. And the last gave you a negative 4i squared. Remember what I squared equals. So that's going to change your 4 a little bit and combine your like terms. And then you're going to have to actually factor it out too. So you're going to factor it out and you're going to get one of those answers, A, B, C, or D. And then number 26, find the solutions of the equation. I changed this half to a 0.5 just for the heck of it. So it just made it a little bit easier when I was calculating 0.5, and this is your B is -1 and your C is 2. Plug it into the quadratic equation. Do the discriminant first and then put that in, and it's 1 plus or minus that. It's going to be not over anything because this is negative B, -1 is a 1, and 2 times A, 2 times a half is 1. So anything over 1 is just itself, so you don't have to put it over a fraction. That's why none of the answers are in fraction form. I really hope this helps, and good luck on this final.